Waves of fate. Stevie Sterling had never felt so out of place. She stood on the deck of her parents' lavish yacht, surrounded by glittering guests in tuxedos and gowns, each more polished than the last. This was the world she had grown up in, but it wasn't hers anymore. Not really. She downed the champagne in her hand and quietly slipped away, the weight of her parents' judgment following her like a storm cloud. It was always the same. The disapproving looks, the veiled comments about her choices in life. Stevie was a nurse now, working hard to prove herself, but nothing seemed to be enough for them. They wanted her to be the perfect daughter with the perfect career and the perfect life. Instead, she was barely hanging on, nursing a bruised heart and a fractured sense of self. The noise of the party faded as Stevie wandered further down the dock. The night was cool, and a soft breeze carried the scent of saltwater. She spotted a smaller yacht, its sleek lines cutting a striking figure against the dim lights of the marina. No one was around, and the boat looked deserted. She glanced back at the party and then, on impulse, stumbled aboard. She just needed a moment of peace, a place to gather her thoughts. A place where she could stop pretending to be someone she wasn't. The door to the cabin was unlocked, and Stevie, tipsy and exhausted, pushed her way inside. The cool air of the yacht's interior was a relief, and before she knew it, she had curled up in a small corner, her head spinning, her thoughts a jumbled mess. She closed her eyes, intending to rest for just a moment. When she woke, everything was wrong. The first thing Stevie noticed was the rocking. The boat was moving. The second thing was the pounding in her head, the remnants of last night's champagne-induced haze. Groaning, she pushed herself up, squinting against the sunlight streaming through a small porthole. She was still on the yacht, but when she stumbled out onto the deck, her heart dropped. The marina was gone. Nothing but open ocean stretched out in all directions. "Good morning, Sleeping Beauty," came a voice, dry as sandpaper. Stevie whirled around to see a woman standing at the helm, arms crossed over her chest. She was tall, with sun-kissed skin and hair that looked like it hadn't seen a comb in weeks. A tattoo peeked out from under her rolled-up sleeves, and her sharp blue eyes narrowed as they studied Stevie. "What the hell?" Stevie's voice cracked as she tried to take in the situation. "Where am I? What's going on?" The woman let out a low, unimpressed chuckle. "You're on my yacht. Name's Kaz Malone. You, my uninvited guest, apparently decided to stow away last night. Now we're about 5 hours out to sea, and there's no turning back." Stevie's stomach dropped. 5 hours? What? No, 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 you have to take me back. I have work, Kaz raised a hand to silence her. "Not my problem, princess. I'm on a tight schedule, and I'm not about to miss my mission for some random drunk who thought it'd be fun to crash on my boat." Stevie blinked, still struggling to catch up. "Mission? What mission?" Kaz sighed and jerked her head toward the open ocean. "Nuclear waste. There's a tanker out there dumping it, and I'm gonna make sure they don't get away with it. So unless you plan on swimming back to shore, you're stuck with me for the next few days." Stevie's eyes widened in horror. "Days? No, 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 this can't be happening. You don't understand. I have to get back. Today's my first day at a new job. I'll be fired if I don't show up." Kaz arched an eyebrow, clearly unimpressed. "Nurse, right? That's what you were mumbling about in your sleep." She gave a dry smile. "Well, good for you, but like I said, this boat doesn't turn around. You'll just have to deal with it." Stevie felt her panic rising. She couldn't be out here in the middle of nowhere, with no phone signal, no way to get back. Her life was already falling apart. This was just the final nail in the coffin. But as her eyes met Kaz's steady, unyielding gaze, she realized pleading wouldn't get her anywhere. Stevie took a deep breath and squared her shoulders. "Fine. But you can't just leave me out here doing nothing. I'll help." Kaz raised an eyebrow again, this time in mild surprise. "Help? You?" "Yes," Stevie snapped, determined now. "I can be useful. What do you need me to do?" Kaz seemed to consider this for a moment before giving a reluctant nod. "Fine. We'll see what you're made of. Don't expect any special treatment, though. This is serious business." Stevie nodded, her heart still racing, but a small part of her relieved to have a purpose, even if it wasn't exactly what she had in mind. The next few hours were a blur of activity as Kaz taught Stevie the basics of sailing. She fumbled at first, her polished city girl hands struggling to handle the rough ropes and unfamiliar terms. But Kaz, despite her gruff demeanor, was a patient teacher. Sinbad, Kaz's black and white cat, watched from his perch near the helm, occasionally flicking his tail in amusement as Stevie stumbled over the deck. By sunset, Stevie was exhausted but proud. She'd managed to pull her weight, even if she was still reeling from the day's events. Kaz, however, remained distant, her focus always on the horizon, on the mission ahead. As night fell, they sat in silence, watching the stars emerge over the dark sea. For the first time, Stevie felt a strange sense of peace. There was something liberating about being cut off from the world, away from the expectations that had always weighed her down. Kaz broke the silence first. "Why'd you run away from that party?" Stevie glanced over at her, surprised by the question. "How'd you know I was running away?" Kaz shrugged. "I've seen the look before." Stevie sighed, staring down at her hands. "My parents, they don't get it. They think I'm wasting my life, that I should be doing something more respectable. But nursing, it's what I love. I don't fit in with their world anymore." Kaz nodded, her eyes softening just a fraction. "I get that. The world doesn't always let you be who you are." Stevie looked up at Kaz, something shifting between them. In that moment, despite their differences, they understood each other. Two women, each running from their own battles, stranded together at sea. "Maybe being out here isn't the worst thing after all," Stevie said softly. Kaz gave her a small, rare smile. "Maybe not."